Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dave, OrgoneGenerator.com, coming to you on another beautiful spring day on Orgone Farm. It is a beautiful day. Pool is open. What I want to do today is get back to the basics. Nick and I have been talking to people over the last couple weeks here, and we think that a lot of people, even people who've owned our products for years, even people who maybe knew Carl, Renate, are not using their generator as effectively as they could. Or sometimes they have multiple generators. So what I want to do is go back to the basics of manifestation with an orgone generator. You can just flip the generator on and you're going to get some orgone. And you can throw an intention in there and it'll probably do something. But I want to go through just the basic parts of a manifestation with an orgone generator. A manifestation is an operation. We call it an operation. And so I want to go through the basic structure of that again. We have blog articles on this. I've got a multi-part series I wrote a few years ago. We've got other videos where we talk about structural links. I've got a couple videos that I shot a few years ago. But so you can look through the YouTube channel, but let's do really 101 stuff so that people understand what they should be doing. Okay, so I've got my red 5. All right, so a manifestation is an operation. We call it an operation. There are 3 parts to an operation, okay? There's the target, which is the target of your operation. Could be yourself, could be someone else. There's the trend, which is your desired outcome, effect, or result. That's what you want to happen, okay? And we call it a trend. And then you need life energy stimulating that manifestation. I'm a terrible writer. So target plus trend plus life energy equals an operation, okay? If you think about normal manifestation techniques, let's say Tony Robbins, a lot of his techniques are based around channeling your own life energy, right? Because our bodies produce orgone. Living things produce life energy, chi, prana. So our bodies produce it. And you can actually, I'll talk about this in another video, our bodies actually produce a good amount, and you can project that. I'll tell a story about that. With one of these generators that's producing a constant, continuous stream of concentrated life energy, you can project that as well and use that to energize the manifestations, okay? So a target, a trend, and then life energy. Now, your target is going to be represented by a target link. For yourself, it could be your name, it could be some hair, it could be a drop of blood, it could be a picture of yourself. All of those are target links. When you have DNA, we call that an identical structural link. And target link and trend link, those are structural links. And that's a really big concept from Carl's theories. It's actually very, very important. It's actually part of his genius. So when you have a target, you want to have a target link. Think voodoo doll, if you want to get weird with it, okay? A voodoo doll is just a target link, right? And it's not, the target link is not the target, it's a representation of the target, okay? Then you want to have a trend link, all right? The trend link could be a written statement, it could be a photograph, it could be a sigil, it could be anything that represents your desired outcome, effect, or result. In general, I use written statements, okay? To me, that's the easiest. The biggest piece of advice I'd give you on written statements is write them as if an objective third party is going to read them, okay? And needs to read and understand. So that's your trend link, and if you go into more magical type practices, it might, your trend link might be some sort of ritual. And again, ritual, and I'll talk more about this in another video because I think it's really interesting. Ritual is just a way to channel life energy as well. And potentially becomes a source of life energy, but I'll talk about that in another video. But in essence, 101, you want a target, you need to have a target, a desired outcome, a trend, a desired outcome, effect, or result, and life energy. Your target needs to be represented by your target link. By the way, that could also be like a mental impression. In general, like a mental impression. So let's say that like you've watched video of someone, a lot, and you want to target them. As you're locking the operation in, you ought to think about that, your impression of that person. What does their face look like? Their expressions, their tone. That'll help strengthen like the target link you use. And with a target link, I would use for a person, I would use like their name, or I'd use a picture of them. But I would kind of use multiple target links, and I explained that in another video. And then I would use like their mental impression, to help strengthen my connection to them. Okay, and a trend link, written statement is fine. Write it for an objective third party. And then how do you, stimulating, basically you got your target link and your trend link, and then life energy, you basically put them, let's say you've got a target link and a trend link, you put them in your generator, and your generator, energizes those by creating a field of life energy. A field of life energy colored with those trends. So now the life energy contains your attention, your intention, right? You're connected to the target, you're connected to the trend, and now it's getting energized. You could do, and if you want, as we talked about, like, I've got a generator code in there. I could, if I wasn't near my generator, if I didn't want to put it in my generator, I could just put the code on my target link and trend link, or I could do like, have one thing as a trend link, have this as a target link, and then I could put ABC 1, 2, 3 on this document, and that will work as well. So like if you're near your generator, you can throw it into your generator. If you are, you're away from your generator, then you can just put a generator code on it, which will connect you. Every time you have a generator code, it's like you're at your generator. Okay, so that is the basics of an operation, is just target plus trend plus life energy. We've been talking to some people who they're using like, they have like a strong generator, and they're only doing, like one operation or on the generator. If they have if you have, we can talk a little bit. It's kind of like uncertain in terms of, the exact number of operations you can do on each type of generator, but you can do more than one. If you got like a heavy duty device, you can do more than one. Yeah, what I would say is like, this is like, if you're not making a target link or a trend link, or you're not doing both, then that, like, manifestation, I think people think of manifestation as like some big picture thing. The more you can target individual goals with an Orgone generator, like, the better. You could write down makes more money. It's kind of not that great, because if you make a penny, then another penny, you've made more money. If you just write down like, I make $1 million this year, and you throw it in the generator, that is not going to be, I would do that. I actually think it makes sense to layer operations, to layer trends with like really big picture stuff and then more targeted stuff. But let's say you've got a business, or you've got like you need a promotion. What I would do is kind of break down like what practically needs to occur for me to get, the income I want or the job I want. I would target interviewers. For a job, I'd target interviewers. I would make myself appear more charismatic. I would make myself more focused. I would do stuff like that versus, I make $1 million in a year. I might do both, but again, think of a generator as a laser or a signal tower that broadcasts your intentions and strengthens them. So I would do both. Like, I would do different types. In general, you're going to do, the way I write operations is, if I have like a overall goal, I might write 4 or 5 operations related to that goal that kind of covers all my bases. Imagine you wanted to like make someone fall in love with you. You would cast a love spell on them, right? You can run a love operation on someone. So rather than, and it's going to be up to you whether you want to do something like that. But I would say like, just make sure you're using target links. Make sure you're using trend links, and always remember target plus trend plus life energy equals manifestation, okay? Which is an operation. That is an operation. An operation is a manifestation. And then think about how you want to, how you want to proceed. So, so we're going to shoot more videos here. I just wanted to like cover that because I kind of think like people say, like we've had some people be like, oh yeah, my generator's collecting dust in the garage. Like that's nuts. This is like the most powerful manifestation tool in our world today. So I want to make sure that like people are actually using it and using it as much as they can. Like my Rad 5 is literally my most valued possession. I would take it over anything because it does so much for me. Okay, so we'll be back with some other videos. We're gonna keep covering like kind of some basics of manifestation and using generators just to refresh people. We have a school group, just FYI, that we just launched. That's a paid group. We're gonna have some content on our YouTube channel like this, but we're gonna put more detailed instructions inside the school group. So if you haven't joined, come join us. You'll get access to me and Nick. You're going to get the best training that we have, and you'll have a chance to like really ask questions and like work out your own. The purpose of the group is to make the members as good as us. Let you really learn how to unlock like the full power of your generator. Okay. So really recommend it's school.com/Orgone. And school is just for people that don't know, school is a platform that allows you to post videos and allows for like discussion threads. And it'll be like a centralized repository of our experience, our training, everyone's personal experience. You can learn through other people's questions. So that is the purpose of our school group. So highly recommend you join us in there. We've got some great training, some school-specific training coming out. But let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to drop a comment, and we will talk to you soon.